And, you know.
Yeah, but unfortunately, our society.
Oh. Yikes. I don't know.
Hey, Aaron,
Yeah.
is she here? Oh, okay. I don't know. Megan,
The thing is, some of the other businesses that benefit from it are closed on Sundays.
If they want to open them,
Ricky, please don't do that.
On Saturday, you can go on Saturday, but on Sunday, shouldn't it? Should the season.
yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm well. I will.
Okay, sweetie.
Hey.
Just leave this right here so you can call on when you get.
So Jennifer, the target time is 8:16.
Okay. Okay. Aaron, are we able to start? Okay. That's okay. Y'all can't blame me. I get credit for this time. I get credit for this time. 'Cause I tried to start and they said no.
Good note.
They're working some sort of issue out.
This time, 'cause that's not your fault.
No.
I get credit for this time. Thank you. I appreciate you
I'll
being
remember it.
reasonable and rational.
Okay. Yes, I reset my password.
I know, I had to do that yesterday. as a matter of fact. Right now. I think I gavel and just bang it. That'll get their attention.
All right, so, oh, wait a minute.
I feel like there's gotta be some reason.
That-
I feel like there's gotta be some good reason or else they would already be up here.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Welcome to tonight's March 12th, 2024 Graham City Council meeting. I'd like for you to please bow your head in prayer and I'll lead us in prayer. Lord, thank you for doing all that you do for us every day. Thank you for leading us and guiding our path. Thank you for knowing what's not just down the road, but around the corner and guiding us in a way that sometimes when we hear the word no, that sometimes is always in our best interest. Thank you for always being near and dear to us. Thank you for protecting our families. Thank you for all you do. Please guide us tonight so that we can make the best decisions that we can for the city of Graham and in their best interest. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
You'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I'll read that. A, to approve the February 13th, 2024 regular meeting minutes and to approve the seal, and to approve and seal the February 13th, 2024 closed session minutes for attorney-client privilege. B, to approve a request to close the 100 block of East Elm Street on Saturday, May the 11th, 2024 for the Big C Community Christian Concert from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., including setup and cleanup. C, to approve a budget amendment updating the American Rescue Plan Act project ordinance for $87,016 to fund equipment for the fire department employer-paid dental plan. D, to approve a budget amendment to allocate $242,465 of the general fund balance for payment on the 2023 ladder truck. E, to approve a resolution accepting an amended funding offer to accept the ASADRA funding increase and revised project budget for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade and expansion. F, to approve tax releases totaling $600.26. Is there any item on the agenda here that the public has come to speak on? Yes. Okay. On
B.
item B. If you'd like to go ahead and speak on that, and then we'll make a motion.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. I'm just here for the Big C concert that's on May the 11th. You've already spoke about. If there was any questions that the council or the mayor had for me in reference to this, that I was here to be here to answer any questions that you have.
So I know in the past you've done this, but you haven't had to necessarily close the street. Is that right?
That's
Oh.
correct. We were going to close it last year, but we didn't have the vendors or anything like that. So we was able to open it up and not close it. This year, the plan is to have vendors on the street, and to, even have the, city fire truck, maybe the Bearcat, have a little touch of truck, things of that nature, for it to go on. And then the concert starts at 12 and will run till between 5:30 and 6. And hopefully by the time people are clearing out, we'll be able to open it up a little earlier than what we thought.
And this is on a Saturday, is that
It's on a
right?
Saturday. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And there will be no alcohol.
No, sir, there will be no alcohol whatsoever served or sold at this event.
Now, have you talked to the businesses that would be affected by this road closure?
They have talked to some of them. I don't know the exact number, but yes.
Okay. And there was no objection to the road closure from those
No, ma'am.
businesses? Okay. All right, and any other questions from the council? Okay, thank you so much. Yes.
Mayor, is there a dollar amount associated with the E?
Mayor Talley, if you want me
Yes.
to weigh in on that, it's not an overall increase or decrease of funding for that. It's just a reassignment of the type of funds we're receiving.
Walking out, basically.
Correct. Mhm.
So Mayor, we also will have for Aaron, we will have the insurance that I will give for the city and for Colonial Hardware that we will have. We've already contacted the lawyer and insurance company to get that done. I should be able to get it to you in the next week or so that you'll have it. I'll email it to you so that we can go. We just want to have a good, successful time again, as we did last year, and bring lots of folks as we can to Graham to enjoy the shops and everything else that Graham has to offer.
Now, being there's no alcohol, is there a requirement for mandatory security? A security presence?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that if you only, isn't that right, Brian? You only have to have officers if there's
So we recommend extra duty solutions, but that's left up to the applicant to reach out to them for whatever that number is that they may need if they feel that there's going to be a need for any security.
Oh, I thought it was contingent on if alcohol was involved.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you were asking me in general.
No, in regards, to there is no alcohol, so is there a mandatory requirement?
Right, so back, yeah, what I was saying earlier, if there's if you feel that you were gonna need it because of the crowd size or,
Right, but the city doesn't require it, right, is what he's saying.
right, it's up to the
Yeah.
applicant.
Okay. All right,
Thank y'all, and I appreciate
you.
y'all very much.
okay. Is there anything that you would need from the city other than barricades and trash cans?
No, whatever I put in and sent in to,
Okay.
Aaron, that's
All right.
all we're requesting at this time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve items A, B, C, D, E, and F in the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Old business, downtown street closures, Graham Recreation. City Council will consider the following road closures for the Graham Rec Department in downtown Graham, continued from the February 13th City Council meeting, slice of summer. We've got some reviewed options, which is on page 3. Sorry. Option 3 for slice of summer would be option A, which is the 100 blocks of Court Square where it's currently, where that happens on, where it was originally scheduled June the 8th, Saturday. Option B being a Sunday, June the 9th from 2 to 6. That would also be in the 100 blocks, but I guess the thought process being if it's on a Sunday, that, that would, most of the businesses on those 100 blocks are closed on Sunday. Option C, which is, a new event site, which would be just on the 100 and 200 blocks of West Elm Street. And option D would be a new event site, which would be, I don't know how that's different. I'm trying to read here.
Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, that's either Saturday or Sunday, both being at just the West Elm Street side, which majority of those businesses are closed on Saturday, other than the bars, and then, and that could be either an option C being Saturday, option D being Sunday. And then I guess we'll discuss the pumpkin bash after that. And Brian, do you want to be heard on this issue, sir?
I can be heard for a second. I'll answer any questions that you guys may have, but Emma's done the vast majority of the legwork and she's gonna probably be your expert on this one.
Okay.
So I just want to note for our proposal for Saturday, June 8th, to keep the event in the original event location of Court Square and 100 blocks of East and West Elm Street and North and South Main Street. We did have a slight change in that than our initial request. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. To block parking spaces that morning of, it would be about roughly 30 spaces total. So that way we can have those areas clear of cars when it is time for the water department to come in and begin running the water lines, which would allow us to push back the street closure time to roughly 2:30 instead of 1 o'clock on that Saturday. By doing that, that allows our water department to start work before the streets are actually closed, to give an hour and a half extra for the streets to remain open. And the same idea for if it were in the same event location on Sunday would be to block spaces beginning that morning, just to ensure that they are clear at the time of setup. The new event site that you
And
mentioned.
that's just on West Elm Street? Oh,
No, that is about 10 spaces, about 12 spaces on North Main Street, about 7 spaces on South Main Street, and then about 10 spaces on East Elm Street, and then 6 spaces in Court Square by Sesquicentennial Park. Those are the areas in which the water lines are ran from the fire hydrants to the interactive inflatables. So they run the lines up against the curb. And the reason that we've had delays in the past is because cars are parked there when the streets close. And they can't run the water lines with a car in the space. So if we block the spaces early that morning, that ensures us by the time the water department comes in, they are going to be able to go ahead and start working and running those water lines before the street even closes. Then once the street closes, that would allow us to move into the event space and begin setting up the inflatables and the rest of the attraction. But that would ensure that the water is already run, which is typically our holdup for that event because of parking.
So in a perfect world, if you didn't have any cars there, when would you need to do the street closure?
2:30.
2:30?
Mm-hmm.
And that starts at,
If it remains on a Saturday in Court Square, we would recommend 4 to 8, which is the original event time. If we do move it to a Sunday, as you noted, we would request the change to be 2 to 6 because it is on a Sunday event in our field. They typically do not go much past 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock because it is a Sunday. You'll also notice the new event site that was proposed is the 100 and 200 blocks of West Elm Streets, as well as sections of the 100 blocks of North and South Maple Street. So essentially shifting the event over to one other intersection.
So you guys put out a survey, right? And you had meetings. I know you had meetings with some of the business owners and how many of those surveys did you get back?
We received 3 surveys back.
And what was the response
There was
there?
not a general consensus to the responses. One survey in particular chose option A, which was the original event site from 4 to 8, stating that the idea of moving is moving traffic away from downtown businesses and exposing visitors to the shops, restaurants, and bars that may be there. Another person indicated option B, which would be moving it to a Sunday in the original event site. And then another person indicated option D, which would be moving it to a Sunday to the new event site. Honestly, I don't think having 3 responses to the survey adequately represents the opinion of downtown business owners. We also did host 3 in-person meetings leading up to the survey going out, to which we had 4 total in attendance, which represented 3 different businesses.
Same number, okay.
And the surveys were not all from the people who attended the meeting. I went out Friday to let businesses know that we were going to be back at council proposing new options. And on the letter that was delivered to businesses had a QR code that would take them directly to the survey that I provided, as well as my contact information if they wish to contact me directly. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't do that.
I wasn't saying any names.
Actually, I didn't really realize that there was a QR code. I didn't know that was an actionable item. I thought you were just informing us of the options. I apologize.
That's okay.
I didn't know that we needed to vote on that.
We also did.
So I'm sorry.
You're okay. We also made it clear to businesses when that survey went out that it would not necessarily be used to make a decision, but it would be presented to council to take into consideration.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for doing that. I just didn't realize that because I didn't talk to you, that was an actionable item and no one told me that.
Yep.
So, sorry about that. It was just
No
laying on my
problem.
desk when I came back. I did see that you had dropped something off, but I thought it was just the options.
Mhm.
So, sorry about that. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Yes.
Yep.
You gotta come to the podium, man.
You'll just state your name and your address.
Cheryl Rich from Sandy and Co.
And Amy Wilkinson from the main line.
And I mean, for us, and as we also spoke to different businesses these past couple of weeks. I know everyone is busy and not everyone gets to come to the meetings and I don't know if anyone else knew about the QR code. But the people that I did talk to, they stated that they were this close to having to close, like when we have the slice of summer. There is no business, for the retail. I mean, I know that there are restaurants and there are bars and maybe, others do really well. But as far as like the retail shops, we really struggle on those days that there is no parking for our guests. You gonna, but yeah, I mean, and I know there are a couple of businesses that say they close on that day because they don't make any money, they do no business. And for me, I would go with option D, do it a different day, a different location, so it doesn't affect the businesses.
Mhm. I concur. I'd also like to add that I noticed when the original emails went out, that not all the businesses were on there. There were old businesses on the email. And the email that went out that did include what I think most of the businesses didn't go out until the 29th of February. And I myself, being a person, I don't check my emails regularly. So I'm not even sure if this is a fair debate because a lot of businesses didn't even know that there were options, that they can speak their voice. And I have open for all of these events. And the slice of summer, do it on a different day, different location. I get wet children in my shop. I get just a lot of kids running around. I have to watch. I have to have more people on staff. I think I've explained this in our last meeting.
So if you're not open on Sunday, though, you wouldn't be necessarily opposed. You're not open on Sunday, is that
We're
right?
open on Sunday. We're open on Sunday. That's one of our busiest days.
Oh, you
But
are open on
we're
Sunday.
only one of there's only a few of us that are open. And so it's just that short stretch of North Main Street from Press down to Sutton's.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if they did do it in Court Square on Sunday, if we could be the last street to close, to be closed, that would be great.
Right.
What time do you close on
We
Sunday?
close at 2.
Too.
Oh,
And I know
so-
Press closes at 3.
Mhm.
But if you come down, I mean, on a Sunday, like, we're packed on North Main Street.
Mhm.
But as soon as like 2, 3 o'clock comes around, it dwindles and everybody starts to clear
Yeah.
out. But we're the only ones, I think, that are open.
Open. And I think
Mhm.
Over Yonder's open. Is Over Yonder open on Sundays? I don't know. But yeah, we
Right.
close at 2. Now, if there is a lot of foot traffic, I do stay open, but it's rare that
Mhm.
there's a lot of foot traffic after 2.
We would just love to have streets.
Do you think, Brian, that the location of that new event site that you're speaking of, is that going to limit you on what you're going to have there as far as like offerings, or is that not is that, like
It shouldn't. The space itself shouldn't limit what we have because we can extend a little further into the 200 block of West Elm Street. Again, Emma pointed out, we're going to have to close some of Maple, leaving from this intersection to the court or sheriff's department parking lot open, so that can be accessed. We would close generally, I guess, right past that entryway to the intersection. And then coming from the other way, coming from Hardin Street back this way, we would close it down right at the entryway to the city parking lot. Right there across from, well, there's a little short road that accesses the back of Green and McClure. We would leave that open. And so we would close a third of that block. But most of it would be on West Elm Street, the 100 block and the 200 block extended to whatever that little street is.
You're gonna be able to,
Church.
that one mega slide thing that's on Main Street, you're gonna be able to get all that in there?
We may have to adjust some of the attractions, but the idea is that we could still have the same amount of attractions. But yes, some of those larger ones, one of those would essentially take up over half of West Elm Street on the 100 block. But they have some of the smaller ones that are not quite as long that we can fit within that space. We would also request to use, because it's in a closed area, the public parking lot behind the museum, Roasted Coffee Depot, and utilize that parking lot for food trucks so that they are off the streets and not taking up space that could be used for attractions.
Isn't there a church over there on Maple as well? That would
There
be
is, the First
affected?
Presbyterian
Anybody-
Church is there, but the part of the street Brian was mentioning would leave that parking lot open to be utilized. If the church were to have a wedding
Or
that
a
day or
funeral?
a funeral that day, as they do during the week, they have chain or rope that they put across their parking lot that they man so that the public doesn't enter. We would not allow the public in that area regardless during the event, even if it's just a park, because it'd be a safety hazard having too many cars trying to come in and out directly into the event space.
And on Sundays, we don't have use of the parking lot. The Presbyterian parking lot is a joint use agreement with the city, except for Sundays.
Right, that's what I was.
And Andrew's Church is right down on Maple, Elm Street as well. But they would have access to their parking lot.
Well, there's no businesses open on Sunday on West Elm except for the bar, right?
Little
Brother.
Brother.
Little Brothers.
Mhm.
And they would, I would assume, benefit from this. And then there's no businesses on East Elm as well that are open. Because they have that insurance company that they're not open on Sundays. And
C and Z is also open on Sundays.
yeah, but you can still access it,
Yes.
just
Yeah,
like,
it's
you know,
the
the
original event.
the soda
location.
shop is open, but you
Yeah.
can still access it if you have Main Street open. Just like you say, Passion, when it was open, even when you have West Elm Street closed, it doesn't affect them because you still can get to it from Main Street. So, what do you think?
What is the question exactly?
What do we think?
Like, yeah, I mean, I want to know, like, what are your, I guess, your response to their concerns? I mean, do you think you could make it doable if you had it on West Elm Street?
To the new event site that we're proposing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can make anything work that I need to make work within reason. And so these 4 options that we've proposed are all ones that we believe can make work. I do believe we will see a drop in attendance on a Sunday. Just for the nature of events, I think there will be a drop in attendance of the event on a Sunday. I think that's inevitable. So any of these 4 options are ones that we believe we can work and that we will make work.
Well, what if you left it on Saturday? Nobody is open other than the bar, and I'm sure
Right.
they wouldn't have a problem with it, right?
I mean, they would be closed regardless. They didn't,
Did you talk to CNC?
I mean, they would be open regardless. I stopped by. They did not give me a preference one way or the other.
Okay.
I think if we kept it on a Saturday and moved to the new intersection, the main 2 people that are going to be affected are CNC Grill, because you will no longer be able to access it from Maple Street as you could when it's on the corner, and Maple Street Tavern is also typically open in the afternoon on a Sunday or on a Saturday that you can again access from Maple Street. Those would be the two that are going to be impacted by moving it that were not initially impacted in the original location. I've talked to both of them. I stopped in CNC on 2 different occasions and they didn't really give me a preference. I was able to talk with Daniel and Lisa about the different options. It will impact them with it being on a Saturday. However, you notice if we do move to the new event site at that intersection on Saturday, June 8th, I've proposed the time to be 3 to 7. So that way, hopefully we can be wrapped up and out and have the streets back open by 8 o'clock for CNC and for Maple Street. Because as I know, folks usually coming in, he has bands coming in and things like that.
And on Saturday, the Presbyterian Church parking lot is open.
It is. So on Saturday, we do have access to the church's parking lot. However, that section of the street still will be closed for the
Okay.
public. But if there is something going on at the church, they will be able to use it. So I'm not gonna necessarily plan to put anything in the parking lot simply because of the what ifs. We don't know if a funeral might come up the week of. But should they have something there, they will have access to it. We'll have officers at the intersection to be able to allow church parking, should there be an event at the church.
So what
Same.
you just said earlier about trying to do it 2 to 6 typically is like a slow period for restaurants and stuff, usually 2 to 4. And it starts picking up at 5 to 6 or whatever, like as far as like DoorDash orders and things like that. So do you think, what was the reason you picked 3 to 7 instead of 2 to 6?
First, the Saturday,
Yeah,
to try, because I'm gonna be honest, even though we're not closing North and South Main Street and East Elm Street, a lot of event parking is still gonna happen on those downtown streets. We can ideally say that those parking spaces will be reserved for customers of the businesses. But as event goers start to come in, they're gonna park where they see an open space. So my thoughts are, if I push it up to 6, that's even less time for open parking spaces for the businesses. If I push it up to 2 to 6, if we do it 3 to 7, we get to push it up a little bit, which I think will honestly be more of an ideal time for that event anyways. But we will still be able to not have people coming to downtown quite as early, so that way we can leave the streets or the parking spaces for the businesses longer.
okay.
We've tried to make a compromise with 3 to 7.
Okay.
Well, I just want to thank y'all for all the work you've
Yeah.
done on this. You guys, you've been over backwards trying to work with the businesses. I spoke with 2 businesses on Main and 2 businesses on Elm, myself, and about this situation, and they were happy leaving it where it was. They said they made a lot of money when you guys had these events, but I guess for me, I don't really understand how one Saturday out of the entire year is going to make or break a business. I don't get that, but, I guess, like I said, I appreciate you guys doing the work on all this and coming up with viable solutions.
I do have a question for the ladies that spoke. What time do your stores close on Saturday? 5?
So we're only talking about a few hours on one Saturday?
The streets start closing down, even though they say 1.
Ma'am, you need to come up here to the podium so it can be recorded.
You want to go first then?
Yeah, it says that the street will close down at 1.
Mhm.
But the police officers start making their rounds around 2. We open at 10. We're lucky to have 2 hours without the customers feeling pressured to leave.
Okay, you said the streets close at 1, but the police come in at 2?
No,
Oh,
I'm sorry, they come in
sorry.
at 12.
Okay,
They come at 12,
yeah, I
yeah.
just want to make sure I understood what you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so we're lucky if we get 2 hours without the customer feeling that urgency too.
And what time
And
do you guys open?
We open at 10 on Saturdays. And being a small business owner, every dime counts. So yes, closing a Saturday is detrimental to me personally.
On one Saturday?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, because it's not just one Saturday. First of all, it's a Saturday in the summer, which is already a slow time for us, and it's hard to make sales in the summertime. But it's also, it's not just these events. We also have other like town events like parades and all kinds of other things that also happen on Saturdays. So this is one that we're able to try and like work with you guys and think of a different solution. And so I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. And then also say like while the new event site on a Saturday in theory would be better, it still is like Saturday is such a busy day in downtown Graham that I feel like it would just be hectic either way. Whereas if we did a different event on a Sunday or a different location on a Sunday, it's like our main street wouldn't really be closed. And so the people who are going to brunch at Press, coming to shop with us or with Amy, they're already parked and they're already like in town. And so it's less hours that we have to worry about competing with the event, because it kind of is competing, because the people that come to the event, like we said, aren't really,
They're not
shopping. They're kids running around in bathing suits and stuff. So I think that our ideal option, because we do want to like work with you, like everyone, and still have this event, but I think our ideal option would be D, so that the people that want to shop and have brunch are already here, and then on a Sunday, it's already dying down around 2 or 3 o'clock. So then people would be able to go to the event easier.
And then it also gives those restaurants that are closed on Sunday the option to open on a Sunday to earn a little more revenue for themselves. So in my opinion, it would be a win-win. Mhm. That's all I have.
Thank
I
you.
will say that it's kind of dead downtown on Sundays, since Trailhead moved over on Hardin Street. Sundays used to be really busy because they brought in several hundred people. And then like once they were there, they just went to the shops or went and got some breakfast or went and got some brunch after church or something.
I did want to make a quick note that as far as officers closing the streets, with the streets closing at 1, that is the time that I pay officers to arrive. So they are not able to go into the businesses before 1 o'clock. They get there at 1 to begin closing the streets. However, for Pumpkin Bash, there is the opportunity, because there is the staggered closure of that event where Elm Street closes earlier than Main Street, that in the past, as a courtesy, the officers have gone to remind customers to move their cars so they're not blocked. So they have done that for Pumpkin Bash, but it's not physically possible for them to do that for Slice of Summer because they're not there.
Is it possible for us to get some signage that we put out early that morning or even the night before to say, these parking spots are going to be closed, and if there's places we're not inventing the wheel here. I mean, Macy's Day Parade happens every year, and I'm sure there's tons of cars that don't move, and they just go out there and start towing them to a nearby parking lot. They don't tow them away, but they tow them to a parking lot and they don't charge or whatever. Like, is there not a way that we can do something that is, if somebody doesn't have their car parked, if they haven't removed their car, that we can move the car legally?
I'll take that one. We have a long history with the Thursday at 7 of putting out barricades 8 feet long, orange and white stripe with the sign saying this street will close at 5 o'clock. I put those out early in the day when I used to do it. Brandy puts them out early in the morning. And just the 4 or 5 parking spots next to the crosswalks in the center of the square itself, just to try to make sure cars are moved by 5 o'clock or not there by 5 o'clock. And there's almost every single time we close it. 6 times a year, there's a car there that we have to navigate around, whether there's a barricade and assigned or not. Also, I can give you the example of the parade. They, PD can correct me if I'm wrong, but they mark that thing off and tape it off on the North Main Streets early that morning to make sure there are no cars in the parade route. So if we get a car parked in our event space and we have to set up around it because PD can't find them, we can't find them, we go to stores and restaurants and whatnot trying to find the owner, we set up our event and then the owner of the car comes out and they are not happy with us because they're now blocked in with thousands of people around them.
Well, that's why I was saying, like, why can't the solution be that we tow them to the public parking lot?
And I've talked to a tow company about all that. I mean, I guess that's possible, but they're probably gonna want to get paid somehow or another. So is the city gonna pay that bill?
I mean, if we are hiring somebody to come out there to do that, to me, that's part of an event cost. To just be there for however, I mean, you'd need them for less than an hour, I'm sure, to just tow whatever cars didn't move and then tow them to to me, like, I'd be embarrassed that I had forgotten to move my car, but I'd be kind of happy that it wasn't sitting in the middle of an event. So,
I think the important thing is signage that says your car will be towed.
If that's the council's wish, then,
You know, I think.
then we'll put it on there and put some signs out there that says your car will be towed and we'll have a tow
If
company
that
on call
spot
ready to roll.
is, if we designate that spot as part of the event, and they know, hey, 2:00, you gotta be or your vehicle's gonna be towed.
I mean, tow to
mean,
tow
you
to
go to
an
any
impound
large
lot
cities-
is different than towing to just like
Parking lot.
the parking lot. Nobody's like, they're not having to pay a tow bill. They're not having to go somewhere else and get a ride to pick up their car. I mean, there are other places that do this, I'm sure, that, we obviously don't want to anger people, but we also are trying to put on an event. And I mean, to me, I personally would be appreciative that you moved my car because I, blanked out and forgot to go move it or something.
Again, if that's the council's wish,
Well, I'm trying to
would-
come up with a solution so that you guys feel like you can
Well-
get on with your day. I mean, you can't be knocking on every single business trying to find somebody that forgot to move their car.
Mayor Talley, if I may, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
If I may, I spoke with legal about the issue of towing briefly earlier, and I think for liability purposes, and they can certainly say it more eloquently than I can, it would be better to leave the tow bill, if there was one, between the company and the vehicle owner, and to tow it to a secure lot. So if, for example, we towed to a public lot and they were left sitting, the vehicle was left sitting there and it was damaged or anything, we would probably most certainly be named in any sort of claim. And the tow truck company would be better suited to take that to a secure lot somewhere to ensure the safety of the vehicle as opposed to us, putting it over in a public lot. And to let the vehicle owner deal with the tow truck company on the cost of that, as opposed to passing it to the citizens.
Okay.
and along those lines of parking, that's why Emma has proposed to leave the streets open for a longer period of time, but block earlier in the day is a set number of spots. And I don't know if you guys have a map, I'm sorry, or that outlines.
No, we haven't.
Bob, does
those parking
Burlington
spots-
tow cars that are in the way that are left somewhere where they're not supposed to be?
Even the day before,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
and that's been pretty fast. I think myself, the day before the event, to let people know. And I think that there's a follow up the day of,
So I think it's marked in blue are the parking spots that we would, close earlier in the day for Slice of Summer to ensure that the water department can move those water lines and not damage any cars that may be there. Again, that early closure of those spots would allow us to leave the streets open for an extended period of time. at some point, there's a drop dead deadline that we have to close the streets, have all cars moved when we have the inflatable company come in to set up all that they do and to connect to the water and to troubleshoot anything that may come up.
And we have been in conversations with Burke and Public Works about having signage made to let people know on the taller cones when the street is closing. So we are going to try a new effort in signage downtown about the roads closing and the parking spaces not being available. And we will see how that works.
I mean, I personally like the new event site only because it seems to be the least amount of disruption to people. As long as CNZ Grill was fine with it and the bar, I can't imagine the bars would be opposed. Don't you think they'll be okay?
No, I think they'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
That's-
So-
You know, they do the concerts in the summer.
The biggest
And they
complaint I
love
know
it,
for a
so,
restaurant is gonna
yeah.
be that you have like online ordering, you have DoorDash, you have Grubhub, all that stuff. You have to go on there and physically like cut all that stuff off if you don't want drivers to come and you really don't have a lot of control over that. So, but if they, I don't know if they do DoorDash down there or not, but I
For
mean, that,
CNC, I
yeah.
think they do. But if we move to a new event site, that will definitely be something that I have a conversation with them about because it will be a new location for them and they won't be used to the fact that people won't have access to them. And like I said, I was able to talk to Daniel Alvis about his business being affected. And while he said that, yes, it could affect him, that ultimately he's gonna find a way to make it work and support the events that are happening downtown. Not that it was his ideal situation, but he would find a way to make it work and we would work with him.
Okay.
So
And there's no way to give CNZ any kind of access over there on Maple, right? You need that space, right?
Yeah, we're already not gonna have much space on North Maple Street there. So that way we can give access to the church parking lot as well as the private driveway that comes out on Maple Street. So we're really trying to not affect any of the private driveways or entrances in this new site's event plan. And that even incorporates utilizing, like I said, that back parking lot behind like Roasted Coffee Depot and the museum to maximize the event space. So
You-
I personally do not see a way to give them access directly to an open street with this concept.
Do you think we could put some signage or something out there for DoorDash drivers for them so that they
think-
could still?
CNZ could put signage out about that. They honestly might be super busy just with event goers. It's been expressed to me by several of the downtown restaurants that they are so slammed during the event that even if they had access to DoorDash for the DoorDash drivers to drive right up, they might not even be able to handle the extra on top of just what they're getting during the
Okay.
event. Like I said, that would, if the event site moves, that will be a conversation I have with CNC so that they're aware and they can prepare for it, how it's gonna suit their needs.
But Saturday, if we were to move to this location here, nothing on North Main Street would even be affected, right?
Not directly.
There'll be some overflow parking issues.
Right,
Well, yeah.
but nothing on Main Street, right?
No, the only part that will be affected that is in the original site plan is gonna be that 100 block of West Elm Street. And as you said, most of the businesses on that street are already closed on Saturdays, aside from Little Brother and the Verdict. They will now have access at Court Square because it was closed. And then CNC Grill are the ones that are on West Elm Street open that will continue to be affected.
And just to point out what may be obvious, the intersections at Pine Street, intersection of Maple and Pine and Maple and Hardin Street will be closed to through traffic, if you will. people will still be able to access if they need to get to the Presbyterian parking lot and still access if they need to get to the Sheriff's Department parking lot. But it'll be closed, barricades will be there and closed to through traffic.
Okay.
And
Well,
you guys have enough access to the water hookups
Yes.
at the
Yeah.
new site?
Yeah, we
You
we
checked
met
that
with,
out?
yeah, we met with police, fire,
Okay.
water department, public works.
And
We, before we proposed this to anyone, we met with our city departments to make
Okay.
sure it was doable.
and you prefer Saturday over Sunday because you'll have more people. You think that that won't hurt the attendance rate?
I personally do. Like I said, I think if we move to a Sunday, will see a drop in attendance. So
Okay.
I would prefer
Saturday.
a Saturday, for that reason.
Okay. Well, you've done everything you can do. You've contacted the business owners, on there. Didn't seem like they have any objection to that Saturday. If it's moved to the new location, so, I mean, I would opt for option C. But what do you think? Bonnie, do you like option C?
I would be fine with that. I think it's a better option than Sunday also because
Okay.
I do think
Yeah.
a lot of families they do family time on Sundays. They do church events on Sundays. And I think attendance would drop if you did it on a Sunday. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I think C works.
I'll go with C.
Out of that, C would be fine with me.
Okay. I'm gonna do a separate motion for this. I make a motion that we, approve a slice of summer, for the road closure as described in option C, which is Saturday, the new event site, 100 and 200 blocks of West Elm Street, sections 100 blocks of North and South Maple Street, for Saturday, June the 8th, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. with a rain date of June the 22nd. This being a Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1:30, block designated parking spots. Those where hoses need to be run for the traction from the hydrants, roughly 20 spaces at 8 o'clock that morning. And at 1:30 to 8 p.m., close the 100, 200 blocks of West Elm Street and 100 blocks of North and South Maple Street. Do I hear a second?
I second your motion, Mayor.
All approved? All in favor?
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. For the second item, which is the pumpkin bash, you have,
And Mayor Tally, if I may make a correction, their requested time for the beginning of the road closure should be 3 p.m. and not 2 p.m.
An option C.
No, for Pumpkin Bash. So it would be 3 p.m. to 10:30,
For North and,
North and South Main Streets.
For East and West Elm Street at 3, and then 4 o'clock for North and South Main Street.
so 3 p.m. for
Right.
West and East Elm Street.
Correct.
typo.
And that's on a Friday and you close at 5 o'clock, right, on Fridays? So that's 1 hour disruption, but, and you don't have any early blocking of anything, right? The streets will stay up until 5 p.m., until 4 p.m.
Correct. That one
Mhm.
doesn't involve running the water lines. And
Right.
so ultimately, when it comes down to it, if there's cars still in the spaces, there have been times with that event, we work around them. And as Brian said, they're not very happy with us when they come out and they're blocked into the event space, but there gets to a certain point that if we haven't found them, then we have to
Yeah.
keep the show going.
And that's not our choice.
No, I know,
People are
I
down
get
there.
it.
And
Yeah.
they're filling up those streets. So.
It'd be interesting to see what other people do in other cities, but like these events go on like in much bigger city, like,
Yeah.
Macy's Day Parade must go on. We're not gonna stop because we have people that have forgotten to move their cars or slept in or whatever. So, how do we do it in a way that is fair to everybody? Are you guys fine with this new proposal from West and East Elm Street to be 3 p.m. to 10:30 and North Main Street to be from 4 to 10:30 p.m.?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine.
With it. Fine with it.
Okay. Yes, you'd like to speak?
I just would like to say, that when we all met, to give like our input as the businesses downtown, we did propose other options that we might be able to consider together, like we proposed a different location or doing it on a Sunday, like the Slice of Summer. And, I guess that was not something that could be worked with because it's not on any option for this. So I don't know if you could speak on, yeah.
I'm not in favor of having a Halloween event on a Sunday. So that's why that was a non-starter for me.
Okay.
Yep. I agree.
So it's not, Halloween's not even on the Saturday, it's on that Friday night before. So it's on a Friday night, so I think they were trying to be compromising even when they originally developed the event, so I can see why some people would be against that.
Mhm. I know that there's like church events and all kinds of events on Sundays, and so, I mean.
Yeah, trunk or treats and things
Yeah,
like that.
we've been trying to, think of other ideas, and so it's kind of like a punch in the gut when we try to come up with ideas together and our answer is no, like we're not even going to consider it. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Well, I think that, I will say that this event's a little bit different. It starts much later in the afternoon. It would affect your business by 1 hour as opposed to an all-day situation. And I don't think you're dealing with kids in wet clothes and people that are, these are people that do it. It does attract a lot of people to the downtown, and hopefully it would be something that, I know that they try to work really hard, the rec department tries to work really hard with businesses to participate in the event. And so there's a lot of businesses that do give out candy and try to get people to come in their store to at least see their store and things. So I highly encourage you to try to work with the rec department to try to do something that would maybe advertise your business to people that are coming that otherwise maybe weren't coming to shop there, but maybe they would come to, come in and get to know your store and see what you have inside and things like that. So, maybe, what are some of the other things that the businesses do that participate? I know State Farm came down there one year and was all dressed up in the costumes, and they were I think they were doing their own kind of like little raffle or something. They were giving away a TV or something.
Yes, several of the businesses that are downtown sign up to be a trunk or treat booth in itself and hand out candy. Others, obviously, we have the partnership with Farm Services that hosts the hayride and the trolley rides. And then with Witt's Meeting, where they've done in the past the ghost tours. Jeepers Creepers is also a part of the event that Over Yonder hosts and sponsors in the corner near their store. And like I said, there's several downtown in itself that hand out candy. Shamrock, they set up outside their store and hand out healthy snacks and have cornhole boards and games as people enter into the event space. So there's several different things.
I know there's
Going on.
businesses, not just downtown businesses. William Snyder, I know comes there. His business is out on 54.
Doobie Pet World, which
Doobie's
is
Pet
over
World,
there.
yeah, there's a
shopping
bunch
center.
of other businesses that come and set up and, that I've seen down there, real estate agents, insurance agents, all different kinds of people. So, I mean, I'm hoping that, I guess I don't think that it's not that they didn't consider it. I think that, for the nature of the event, we're trying to compromise with everybody's thoughts in mind. And so,
And so is there, because I understand on paper it's just 1 hour, but it's a lot more than that for us. And so we even inquired about like a different location. similar to the Slice of Summer. So I'm not sure, like, because we have in the past done like candy and stuff like that, and we're not getting customers for that. We're just spending hundreds of dollars on candy for kids to come, and then we still have to have just as many people working because we have to monitor the children. So I guess that's all I have to say
Yeah.
about that.
Okay,
Mayor?
Yeah.
I think a gentleman back there wanted to speak.
Yes.
Okay.
How are you guys doing tonight?
good. How you?
Good. Sean Riley, live in Channel Street. I just want to talk, like, one of the main reasons I moved to Graham was because of the events. It was the coolest thing to see downtown, you know, everything going on, being involved, that small town feel, just a cool atmosphere. And as far as, you know, business is struggling, the last event, you know, my whole family came down here and went to those shops, particularly my wife bought a $140 hat at one of the shops.
There you go.
You know, 4 kids running around, families, everything. So, you know, when it comes to closing these roads down, you know, even though we shifted the Slice of Summer, all that parking that they're talking about roads are going to be full of cars parked there. If people aren't going to park across the road of Hardin Street a little bit farther north for cars parking there for traffic, then they're not going to, you know, it's not going to change anything as far as road being closed or spots being filled. If people want to go to these shops, they're going to go to these shops. My wife is a perfect example. But I feel like if we keep moving all these events, it's going to lose that feel, that reason why we wanted to come here,
Yeah.
that we enjoy going here versus Mebane events or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that I just want to put that out there. And, you know, I feel like the downtown events are one of the coolest things that we do, just the atmosphere, the roundabout, all that. So.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I agree. I love the events to be in the downtown. I know that when I personally try to schedule events that I have or that we sponsor, we try to keep the roads open because I feel like it makes the event better, in my personal opinion. If we can do it safely, I'm always in favor of trying to keep the roads open because I just feel like it brings more traffic. People that maybe weren't even going to the event see something coming up, you know, going on, and they stop kind of impromptly and participate, or, you know, go to one of the shop. You know, you want to, even though you might not have known that it was going on, when you see everybody kind of out and about doing it, you want to participate. So I do love that about downtown Graham. We're just trying to mesh everybody's concerns together and make sure that we do what's in the best interest of everybody. Anything else?
No, ma'am, just
All right.
here to answer any more questions.
Okay, I'm in favor of what I think the rec department's tried to come up with some alternative solutions. This is a Friday from 4 to 10:30. I'm personally in favor of it. What do you think, Joey?
Favor of that with the changes there from the 3 to 10:30 and the 4 to 10:30 on the West Elm and South, in the Main and Elm respectively.
What do you think?
Okay with the changes they made.
Any questions you have, Bonnie?
Nope, I'm okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the pumpkin bash and the closure of the 100 blocks of East and West Elm Streets on Friday, October 25th, 2024, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and North and South Main Streets from 4 p.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Do I hear a second?
That's
I'll
second
second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I would like
Motion.
to add one thing.
Sure, motion
Um,
carries.
Yeah, sorry, sorry.
Mhm.
After the Slice of Summer event, could you possibly come back to council in July and to give us like tell us how the new event went, how it
Certainly.
impacted the other businesses, you know, just how it went, to see if it's feasible or if it's, how it worked.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think you're gonna have a lot of people participate. I always feel like the event does better when the road, when, I know you have to, for safety, you have to close those other two streets, but I just feel like the traffic, when the traffic's coming by, just me personally, you know, if you route people around an event, they go around the event. They just keep going. So I feel like, you know, having it passing by, you know, I know several people that have come to downtown and saw that the concert was going on and stopped, and they didn't come for the concert, but they saw it going on and stopped and went.
We leave it open when we can, close it when we have to.
No, but we appreciate all you do, and thank you very much for being here
You're welcome.
tonight.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is an update on the line of sight. Thank you very much. I know you guys are super busy, and so appreciate y'all being here tonight.
Y'all.
Update line of sight, Gilbert and Maple Avenue. The city council will receive an update on the line of sight issue at the intersection of Gilbert and Maple Avenue. I'd like to recognize City Manager Megan Garner.
Good evening, Mayor Talley, members of the council. In February, most recently, and in several months leading up to that, the intersection of Gilbreth and Maple and the potential line of sight issue had been discussed. After the February meeting, staff met with the property owners. They were receptive to the idea of eliminating some of the plantings that could have been potential line of sight issues. The day that we met with them, they immediately removed the plants that evening, which was forwarded to council. So the line of sight issue that has been brought forward has been resolved. The property owners were great to work with and were very responsive to any requests that the city had. Since then, we have received other citizen complaints regarding some traffic enforcement issues in that area, running of stop signs and speeding. We had the speed data sign on North Maple for 2 weeks, I believe, and then we'll switch and do southbound after that. And we've asked our PD to pay particular attention to that area for enforcement issues. So as far as we're concerned, the issues have been resolved.
Well, I tell you, having a presence of law enforcement makes the biggest difference. Your motorcycle cop, I'm sorry, his name is escaping me right now, but Lance, yeah, Officer Lance. He was on the corner there of Hardin and Main Street. And man, the brake lights were just as soon as they come up and see that he's sitting right there, ready to go. Yeah, it's definitely a deterrent for speeders. So we greatly appreciate that. And today I was talking about this issue and just want to say thank you very much to the property owners. You know, I think this is a wonderful example of government working with their community to solve a problem. You know, this property is privately owned, and certainly every council member on here is very attuned to being able to, that's your kingdom and your domicile, and you certainly have the rights to improve your area as you see fit. But in having our city manager reach out and speak with the property owners about the issue with people being able to see around those plantings, and that you guys were willing to work with the city, that's just thank you very, very much. I think, you know, this is the best case scenario when property owners work with our government to come out with a great result for the public. And you certainly were under no obligation to do so, but I just want to extend a thank you from the council and from our staff, you know, that we really appreciate you working with us to do that. And I know it's a lot of work to do improvements to your yard, and so I appreciate it very much.
I do too. Thank you very, very much for doing that.
Yeah, I think the whole council feels that way. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So public hearings, adopt resolution, Alamance County Municipal Tourism Development. This is the occupancy tax. A public hearing's been set to consider adopting a resolution joining Alamance County Municipal Tourism Development Authority and adopting a resolution levying a municipal room occupancy tax. I recognize Megan Garner.
Good evening again. The North Carolina General Assembly ratified Senate Bill 154, an act to make various occupancy tax changes that authorize the municipalities of Graham, Burlington, Elon, and Mebane to levy occupancy room taxes and to create the Alamance County Municipal Tourism Development Authority to promote travel and tourism within the aforementioned municipalities in Alamance County. The law further requires that any city that levies such a joint tax join with the other communities to create an Alamance County Municipal Tourism Development Authority to manage the funds raised. The TDA shall be created by the first community to levy the tax, which Burlington did on January 2nd, 2024. Before the city council can levy the tax, they must hold a public hearing on the matter. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the city council may adopt a resolution joining the Alamance County Municipal Tourism Development Authority and adopt a resolution levying a municipal room occupancy tax. I will point out that if city council adopts both resolutions and levies that tax, the effective date would be July 1 of 2024. It would be in 3% of the receipts.
Any discussion?
I do have a question.
Sure.
If we were to do that, would it, because we only have what, two hotels or two, is that correct? Would it be like an equal share thing?
I think it affects Airbnbs too, doesn't it?
And is it like
We have a
considered
lot of Airbnbs.
an equal share across all the municipalities that sign on, or like, or do
Based
you only
on-
get the 3% from the ones you have?
from
Yeah.
the ones you have.
Yeah, the
Okay.
funds generated in your municipality are segregated in a fund for your jurisdiction.
Okay.
So you get what you raise.
We do have Verbo and, Airbnb.
Madam Mayor, could you clarify though? I was not under the impression those were included.
Are they, Bob?
They're good, probably better than I was saying. Learned that earlier. My voting, city council.
Is your mic on?
Conflict, so Brian,
Okay.
if we direct your question to him, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
My answer is I have no idea if Airbnbs are included. I do not know.
I know in the initial numbers that we were looking at, Airbnb numbers were included, the way they previously figured it, so I'm not sure. I guess, I just assumed until you just asked that question that they would still be included.
Yeah, the information we received from Burlington, because they were the first ones, basically just say that occupancy tax of 3% of the gross receipts derived from the rental of an accommodation within the corporate limits that is subject to sales tax imposed by the state under GS 105-164-4A3.
And Airbnb will be required to collect that at time of service.
So if that's the case, we have three hotels, and we have an extended stay, the one down on Woody
Quality.
and one on Jimmy Care.
Mayor, that may be correct. I just don't remember hearing any discussion of that interpretation at either of the other three municipalities. As I
okay.
recall, but it also might depend, and perhaps the manager knows, what the county occupancy tax, whether it includes them, because as I understand it, they're parallel. But like I say, it just hadn't been mentioned until you mentioned it.
Okay, well, we'll certainly investigate that before the public hearing, but, I mean, I certainly hope, and I certainly would advocate for the Airbnbs to be included. I guess I'm just having a hard time thinking legally how they couldn't be included, because a tax is a tax on occupancy regardless of whether it's at a hotel. I mean, I would think the hotel lobbyist would have a problem with that because they hate the Airbnbs and Verbos. So they're going to want them to be taxed just as much as they're taxed. So I have a hard time believing that we wouldn't be able to collect that, just logically thinking, but we'll certainly investigate that and see. So I think, until this all kind of gets worked out or whatever, being able to even know who's occupying who is staying in your, city, and you're not collecting any tax revenue for that is a problem. I can tell you that the house beside me was purchased and is being operated as an Airbnb. And the amount of trash that location generates now is enormous, enormous, because they rent that property now, as a 4-bedroom with 2 beds in each room. So what I don't know who they have an agreement with. They say it's on Airbnb, but, you know, the amount of trash that's generated was certainly a whole lot more than the 2 people that used to occupy that home. And so I think the occupancy tax, in my personal opinion, is absolutely warranted because the cost to the city, is more when that house operates as a business and not as a residence any longer. So, you know, when you got 8 people using water and you have, and obviously that's, you know, considered on there, but there's a parking issue, a trash issue, and utility issue when, things are converted from residential to commercial use. So,
And Mayor, if I may point out, the statute referenced 105-164-4A3 has a subsection that says the general rate applies to the gross receipts derived from the rental of an accommodation. These rentals are taxed in accordance with GS 105-164-4F. So just at a quick glance, it would appear that if it's a rental of an accommodation in whatever form that may be, it would appear that Airbnbs and VRBOs may also be included.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would concur. I just did a quick Google search and guests who book Airbnb in the state of North Carolina will be allocated to city and local occupancy taxes.
there's no way the hotel lobbyists would allow that for Airbnb and all them not to be taxed if they're taxed. But anyways, we'll just, we need to, make a motion to adopt a resolution, joining Alamance County Municipal Tourism Development
to-
Authority.
It's a public hearing,
Open the
right?
public hearing, please.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we need to open a public hearing.
Okay. So is there anyone here to speak on the occupancy tax tonight? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Anybody else have any other comments?
And I will go one step further than what I looked at before. The second statute reference does have an exemption that says the tax imposed by this section does not apply to the following: a private resident cottage or similar accommodation that is rented for fewer than 15 days in a calendar year unless the rental of the accommodation is made by an accommodation facilitator. So that there are some exceptions to it, but based on that, if you rent it for more than 15 days out of the year, calendar year, then you would be subject to that.
Well, that's gonna be Airbnbs and Verbos. Because you're not keeping it as an Airbnb or a Verbo, unless you're renting it for more than 15 days out of the year. So is there a motion on the floor? Call for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that the city of Graham join the Alamance County. Oh,
I did. Oh, sorry. Is there a
Madam Mayor,
second?
second. the
Second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries to close the public meeting.
Okay. I make a motion that the city of Graham enter into an agreement to create the Alamance County Municipal Tourism Development Authority and adopt a resolution leveling a 3% municipal occupancy tax.
Okay, does here a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. The Burlington Graham Joint Annexation Agreement, a public hearing has been set to consider approving the Burlington Graham Joint Annexation Agreement and ordinance to allow for clarity and delineate authority within the specified areas around Monroe Holt vicinity. I'd like to recognize our Assistant City Manager, Aaron Holland.
All right, thank you, Mayor. This is an agreement between the cities of Burlington and Graham to establish a line of agreement to steer growth in the unincorporated areas between the two jurisdictions. But because of potential growth opportunities south of the Great Alamance Creek, staff is requesting that we do withdraw this item so that we can work with Burlington to address that area in conjunction with the proposed agreement that you received for this meeting. We want to make sure that we're covering all our bases for areas north and south of the creek. And I want to say, working with Burlington, that they have been extremely cooperative on this. We expect to possibly come back in April, but because we don't know if we would have the wording worked out by then, it's probably better for us to withdraw it and then come back when we know we're gonna have the wording for both sides of that creek.
So you don't want us to table it? You just want us to, okay. I hear a motion for, to approve the withdrawal from the city, in regards to the annexation.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we withdraw this request at the time.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? New business, Sesquicentennial Park Shelter floor. The council will discuss options for the Sesquicentennial Park Shelter.
Mayor Tyler, I apologize, but there was another public hearing item that we are requesting council table. Item 5, annexation of 8.7 acres off South Main Street.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I appreciate your vigor to get through the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we table the annexation of
You're
8.7
helping
acres
me out.
off of South Main Street.
We're just marking them off the list. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That also will be tabled. New business, we were on a timeline.
I can't remember, it's already postponed once. This is the first time.
The annexation, no,
No, just came up.
No,
last-
the annexation by itself.
no, sir.
Okay, Sesquicentennial Park Shelter, City Council will discuss options for the park shelter due to the dilapidation of the existing floor. Looks horrible out there. And I will refer to Megan Garner.
I will tell you that the floor at the park has some issues. I didn't put in the staff report that it looks horrible, but it has begun sinking in recent years, largely due to what we believe is buried underneath the brick flooring. It's believed that the building that used to occupy the space was at least partially buried, causing an uneven base for shelter and the flooring. We're coming to you for direction for the upcoming budget year. We would like to know if City Council would like to invest money in repairs or if you would like to consider an alternative use for that property.
So there used to be a basement underneath that building, and I don't think obviously that they, when all this came up, Pat Bailey and Sam Powell, we were on a committee together about doing something with that space. And there's older pictures, but if you can imagine that for the longest time, it was just a gravel parking lot with cars parked there, right there on Fort Square. And there was no lines because it was all gravel, so they were parked every which way. And it's difficult to, I guess, police it and things like that. Cars would be parked there for weeks on end because there's no like real parking spots and all that kind of stuff. So they looked at doing something that was a beautification project, but it's my impression, it was my impression that the purpose of that was to celebrate the 150th year of the county, but I don't know that it was to necessarily be something that was permanent or, it was a way to beautify our downtown, but I guess, I haven't been able to have that conversation with Sam about what what his thoughts are or whatever. I know that there's a lot of concerns from residents, myself included, because we bought bricks for that. And so I think that whatever comes of this discussion, I think we need to take in consideration that people bought those bricks to honor a loved one or to honor someone or to remember someone, and that needs to be part of the discussion about what happens with that property, whether if that property is improved upon, that those bricks could be moved out on the sidewalk as a sidewalk area that is improved with those same memorial bricks. And then I know that the bell was removed. I don't even know where the bell is at this point, but it was removed because it was just a constant problem with people that were, they can't respect that this is it's a public space, but it's not there for them to damage a historic item. And ringing the bell at all hours of the night when there's residents downtown trying to sleep, trying to do damage to the bell, these kind of things.
Now, originally, there was a 3-story building there?
There was a 3-story building with a basement. So it was quite substantial, and it was really one of the prettiest buildings in downtown Graham. And yeah, it was beautiful.
Wow.
I mean, a real talk piece for sure. I'd love to see something like that go back in that space. And, I know other cities, when they want certain things done in a particular space, they put some, restrictions on it so that they can ensure that it's built to a certain thing. I would love to be able to see somebody build something like that back as it was, to put back what was historical at one point. I think that was from I know that when the side on the building side there that says Graham Soda Shop, I know that's from 1937. So does it say on there when it was built? It might say on there.
Read it from here.
Well, I certainly can't see it from here.
I
But
can't see it.
didn't say when. I'm gonna say it was between, I think somewhere around 20 something, or maybe 1930. It doesn't predate the building, the Knicks building, or or Fred Sternberg's building there, the Alamance Bank building, because they always had a fight about whose building was the oldest. And it was because the Knicks building was built first, started first, but the Alamance Bank building, to my understanding, was finished first. So they argued that they were the first finished building, but the Knicks said they started first. So they said they were the oldest. So I guess it's who you talk to, but their input from
So
anyone on what you guys would like to see done with that space?
if the city were to, I mean, we would probably need to get an appraisal on the property and see what it was worth. I have no idea what it's worth. If the city were to consider selling it, let's say, to someone that wanted to build something there, would that builder then have to come back before council before they built anything there?
I mean, I think what I've
Or would that-
seen other cities do is, because, they basically put out I don't know, it's kind of like a RFP, so to speak, and say, this is what we would like to see here. It would need to be historic. It would need to meet these parameters. And if they did that, then the city would be willing to sell the property
So
for
there would
someone
be-
to improve it for this
there would be
specific
conditions.
purpose. Yeah,
Okay,
for
okay.
that specific purpose,
what I was
and it
asking.
has to be like in the community's best interest or whatever. It has to
Okay.
be something that would be, done to do that. And obviously, it would have to be appraised, like you say, and people would have to
Bid and stuff.
bid on that, you know, and you'd have to have a bid process and that sort of thing, I
I
would
mean, I
imagine.
personally would like to see another building there. I mean, like that. That's just my opinion, but
I will point out that if the city council elected to dispose of that property, we do have surplus procedures we would have to follow.
Right. Yeah, we would obviously want to do everything above board, yes.
Does the city even own the property?
Yeah.
yes.
Well, Madam Mayor, I would suggest you probably need to have the attorneys look. Now, this is 25-year-old history, so I can easily be forgetting. You correctly described the chairman of the Sesquicentennial Committee and the work and the bricks and the celebration and so forth. My recollection, though, was there was some agreement between the county government and the city of Graham.
Can you step to them only because so that people that are listening remotely can hear what you're saying?
I would suggest that the attorneys look into the origins on that property. My recollection is that there was some agreement between the county and the city that, again, by your description and my recollection, it was sort of an in perpetuity agreement. Now, whether it says that in writing and is binding and so forth is what you'll probably need to check. My impression was that that was the agreement at the time. And since it was a county committee, the Pat Bailey and Sam Powell, who you mentioned, that was a county committee that was doing it. I can't remember what part, whether it was the county and it was city property and then, like I
No,
say,
we've checked. It is owned by the city. It's not owned by the county. But I think the money was raised from brick sales and things, and then the remainder was split from the county and the city to do the improvements. But I don't know that they have any legal right to be able, I mean, there's certainly no deed restriction that prevents the city from being able to declare that property as surplus and
well, I guess I would ask you to verify that, but also just
Sure.
substantively, I would very respectfully disagree with Councilmember Whitaker. I think it is a great tribute to both the city and the county's 150th anniversary, which it was established for, and is a nice little downtown park to have now. Granted, something's going to need to be done to improve, guarantee the safety, which I gather is, as the manager described it, sinking somewhat. And you can tell some of it by just walking around it. But at any rate, just personally, I think it's a great little park to have downtown. And I think it would cause major difficulties to decide to sell it or to build something there, whether by the city or by a private entity, and would raise all sorts of questions, I would think legal and ethical if, again, the original purpose was changed, I won't say midstream, 25 years later.
no, I think we need to take into consideration, you know, what you're saying, but I do think that, you know, if we're going to just offer it up for surplus for anything to be built there, I would agree with you. I think that there has to be some consideration for the improvements that were done there at the time. But my impression at that time from talking to people was that this was not to go to in forever and in perpetuity
I
to,
know of no such limitation. And
Well,
I've never
I
had
mean,
any
at the-
impression that it was in any way a short term.
the impression that I got that it was a beautification project until at some point, I mean, certainly if the city had a need to build a building there, it's property that the city owns and the city would have full right to be able to do so. But at the time, they didn't need that and it was just being used as this vacant lot for cars to be parked there. And so, I mean, I guess I just see like, is there some reason that there would be an aversion necessarily to building what was historically there at one point? That predates the Sesquicentennial Park?
Oh, I would certainly object as just one person, one citizen. I think the the purpose for which it had been appropriated as a celebration of the city and county's anniversary, 150th, I see no reason, no compelling reason to change that at this point. And no interest, unless you all know something that the public doesn't know, in terms of interest in doing so.
But the property, what is the historic significance of the property? It was a private entity.
Sure. And it had a fire, which is, got
then
demolished,
collapsed
and
and
then it
such.
became a
But if
parking lot, as you say.
ordinance is to maintain a recognition of the 150th
And I think we
anniversary,
could still do that. We
we
could
could
still,
incorporate that into the description of, you build this, we want
it's the sesquicentennial
to
building or something like that.
recognize that,
Well, I think you're going down a wrong track. Just substantively, let me answer one of your questions, Mayor. I believe that the Bell now resides with the Chrisman family, Eric Chrisman, who had, their family had something to do with it originally. And for its safekeeping, when it became an item of contention during some of the protests in 2020, I believe, I don't know who, the city, the sheriff, somebody channeled it back to the Crispin family, at least as an interim measure.
I mean, I do think that, this is a business district. It's not, it's not a park. I think that when it was looked at, originally, I guess if I saw that there was more use out of it, other than, I don't know what you'd call that, the arboretum or whatever that's over top of it. If it was more of a sheltered area that people could, have events, birthday parties or something like, and it was more used, but I don't see people using it for any kind of venue or, any purpose. I mean, I just don't see people eating lunch there, eating dinner there. I think it's prettier than it was as a parking lot, but, I guess I just feel like the highest and best use for a property in a business district is to have a building there. And what better thing to put back there than what was originally there and restore the historic significance of the property. Historically, that building was there. That building is what's written about in the history books, not the sesquicentennial arboretum that was put back in the, in the 80s. How many times can you celebrate the 150th year of the, we've moved, I guess what I'm saying is I feel like we've moved past that, but I think that you can absolutely incorporate that appreciation for the 150th anniversary and celebration. It was, in my mind, it was put there for that celebration. It wasn't put there to, what are we now? You would know, Tom.
75.
Yeah, we're at 175. So do we change it to the, I don't even know what that's called. From the sesquicentennial to the 70th centennial. 175th, yeah, a centennial. So I don't know what that's called, but, and then when it becomes, I don't know, I love the idea of a big, beautiful building like that being, built in the downtown and restoring, historical buildings as they once were. That's just my personal opinion. And this isn't really a public hearing, it's just to kind of discuss ideas that maybe the council has. And just for budgeting purposes, I guess, for us to look at what we might want to do. But estimated cost just to fix what's there is $50,000. So What are your thoughts, Ricky?
Well, I knew Miss Bailey, very
Your mic
well.
on? Okay, can't hear you.
I knew Miss Bailey, very well, and, I would lean toward just, allocating the $50,000, to, begin work and relay the floor in there and remove the big bell monstrosity out there. So it'd be nice and open and put, a covering on the, arbor. That's my thoughts.
Joey, what do you think?
I'm not really in favor of spending a lot of money, repairing it. I agree. I would like to see that building put back. I guess, the biggest thing right now is the safety issue, the immediate safety issue, the immediate need of keeping that area safe because it's quickly becoming a trip and fall hazard. But something's got to be done sooner than later. And to go through the process, if we decide to sell it and all that, that's going to take time. So it's kind of a,
Well, it's been like that for a long time,
Yeah.
right?
I'm just worried that if we,
Just repair.
even if you like repair it, because they didn't tamp it, like the
Mhm.
only, like, it seems like the only proper way to fix it would be to dig everything back out all the way down to the basement
I don't-
and
I don't-
then start again, and nobody wants to put that kind of money
Do
into
that, you might
fixing
as well
that.
Build
yeah,
something.
I don't
Not
think
into
fif-
that.
I don't think $50,000 will touch it.
I don't
It
either.
may get it safe for the time
No.
being, but 50,000 is not going to fix the problem. You're just going to Band-Aid it for 50,000.
I think we should explore declaring the property surplus and see when,
Maybe getting
Because
an
I think-
appraisal on it and
I think what's
Bob,
gonna
can
happen
you
is.
check with the county to see what the original agreement was?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was deeded to the city of Graham in 1998, according to the GIS.
I mean, I would be
but
in
did you
favor.
say you already checked with the county?
You know, to see if there's anything outside of the deed itself, but.
Okay,
check-
but you did look at the deed.
I pulled the deed, but have not done a title search, so I don't know what kind of agreement may
Okay.
be out there, so.
Okay. Well, I think it's the council's, wish to have the, our general counsel to look into what our legal options would be allowable. Even if we can't all agree on what to do with it, I think we can all agree on letting the attorney look at, what we are possibly allowed to do. So I'll make that motion to ask the general counsel to investigate, the property and what our rights are with owning the property and any agreement that we might have had with the county. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the, agenda is the audit services, award of a contract. City council will consider awarding City of Graham audits contract for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 to Stewart, McGowan and King. And I'd like to recognize City Manager Megan Garner.
Hello again. On January 24th of this year, the city issued a request for proposals to provide audit services. 3 firms submitted proposals for consideration by the city. In the staff report, you have the breakdown of each firm, if they were to do a fiscal year 24 audit and a single audit, and what the subsequent fiscal year 25 and 26 prices would be. It is the recommendation of the finance officer that the council approve a contract with Stout, Stewart, McGowan, and King, the current auditor for the city of Graham. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
I have none. I think they have done a great job.
I'm not here.
No questions here.
Make a motion to award the City of Graham's audit contract for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 to Stout, Stewart, McGowan, and King.
I second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. In regards to our Joshua Bear from 219 West Hardin Street, apartment 227, if you could please come forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good, how are you?
Good. I came, thank you for having me tonight and let me speak. I was here about 2 months ago. I was talking about crosswalk safety. I'm here to talk about that again. The crosswalks around the court square are not safe. There's so much speeding going on. You were talking about that earlier at other parts of the city. It is really bad in those crosswalks, especially during the day. Well, during the day, but especially at night. When those businesses close and when the courts close, people use that thing as a NASCAR track. Last Friday, me and my daughter were almost hit for the third time. And I'm sure everybody else that's been walking out here has had close calls as well. I literally had to put my hand down the car and jerk my daughter behind me to get her back on the crosswalk. Is right there on the corner where Sutton's is, crossing over to where Hi-Fi. We're going to get something to eat. I literally had to pull her behind me. The car who did it literally got to the crosswalk. We made eye contact. It was night. It was raining. You know, two steps out and they gunned it. Or they'll be flying by and there's cars right there and you can't see them. That car had a full car of kids and, you know, a husband and a wife in there. I don't know what needs to be done, and whether we need to post the sheriff or a Grand PD up there. I know we did way back in 2020 when people were threatening to hurt that statue out there. I know there was a sheriff car posted there. It was nobody in it sometimes, but sometimes they had people there. Why can't we do that again and be watching these crosswalks at nighttime and at day? Because try not to be emotional here. I don't want anything happen to my family, my daughter, my dad. He is about 67 years old. We don't have a car. We walk everywhere. And we love this town. We have to go out and we got to do things. And my dad can't move as fast as I can. So if he gets hit by a car, tries to make a split decision, he might not survive it. I can, and, you know, and I'm able to protect my daughter or whatever. But I don't know if it's going to I don't want there to have to be a fatality for us to change something. Because when somebody's kid or somebody's parent or somebody's whatever gets hit in there, there's going to be more protests. There's going to be people wanting to change it then, but then it's too late because we already lost a life. Luckily, we haven't, I don't know. I'll try to do my research and see what kind of accidents have happened in that court square or on Maple and Hardin, that corner right there where 6 to 1 the Presbyterian Church is. Because, man, 5 o'clock, you've got people running red lights like madhouse. And I agree with you when you were talking earlier, a cop presence would deter that.
It does.
But something needs to be done. I don't know if I have to stand out in front of the courthouse with a sign saying slow down to people in the car or paint myself yellow or what we have to do. But I want something done. I know that I've talked to some people. I know in like Chapel Hill, bigger cities, they have crosswalks that the road lights up and signs light up. I don't know how much that costs. I'm sure it's pretty expensive. I know that would be a project, but having a cop sit down there a little bit would not be that big of a project. We could do that. Or somebody gets seriously hurt because it's going to happen. And I would like something to start turning it before it happens. That's just me. And I'm sure it's everybody else in here because we all have families and people we care about. And I don't want nobody to get hurt because I know if something happens to my daughter, people are not going to like me very much. I don't want nothing like that to happen. So I appreciate you letting me speak. Whatever we can do to minimize this, I really plead to you that we do it soon because this is not the first time. It will not be the last time. And I don't want it to be the next time to be fatal. I appreciate you and thank you for hearing me out.
So we have been working with DOT to, you know, and with we just met actually last week with, Burke about, some possible improvements in the downtown for crosswalks. Um, you know, I think that I'm really in favor of doing the brick stamped crosswalks because it forces the driver like subconsciously to slow down as soon as they hit the uneven pavement. I mean, that's when you know, when you think about Elon, for instance, and you're going down Haggard Avenue, cars that really kind of go very fast down that road, as soon as they hit the raised, crosswalks there, and it's like, bup, 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 bup. It's kind of like, you know, the feeling that you get when you drive off the side of the road. It just naturally, even if you are kind of a speed demon, it makes you like automatically hit the brakes, subconsciously. So, you know, I've been a big proponent of, those kind of crosswalks, not just for looks. Obviously, they aesthetically look better than just paint on asphalt, but, because of the change in the, in the roughness of the surface, that I think it helps as a, it helps to slow people's speed down and acts as a, deterrent to speeders. But I certainly would ask Megan to, again, talk to the police to see if they can step up their, attendance, in the downtown. Summer's coming, and, it is, as the events that we have downtown and at night, increase, the foot traffic increases, and maybe we could do that. I know that there was a fatality, I think, last week on Hardin Street. But I don't know that that's preventable by any kind of crosswalk improvements, because that person was going 140 miles an hour on a motorcycle. And unfortunately, that person did not survive that accident. But, you know, no amount of road work or improvements are going to, stop people from acting irresponsibly and not sometimes in their own best interest or in the best interest of other people. So we will try to continue to work on those road improvements, and I'm glad to hear that you're getting eye contact. I tell everybody that's downtown, please try to get eye contact with the driver before you step out in front of them, because I think that's critical in making sure that pedestrians stay safe. Doesn't matter much if you have the right of way if people don't stop. The next person on our, and thank you for being here tonight. The next person on our agenda is Vicky Hunter, 627 Rockwood Drive, Graham. Hi, Ms. Hunter. How are you tonight?
I appreciate everything y'all done. It's a hard job to make everybody happy. It doesn't happen. I have lived in Graham for 25 years or better than that, maybe on Rockwood. And when we moved there, it was a beautiful neighborhood. Since last September, we've had people digging in our yards, AT&T, Generation 3, which I say has been the very most cooperative of all of the people there. Duke Power, Loomis. I mean, it's just been a continuous dig in my yard. I'm 72 years old. I still do my yard work, but my yard is not what it was when those folks came. Are there any plans for them to come back and fix the damage that they've left? If you'll ride down Rockwood, those yards don't look like they used to. They threw mud back in holes and threw straw on top of it. Not grass seed or fertilizer, just straw. That stuff costs money. I'm on Social Security.
Yeah, I totally agree. If they have damaged, you know, the property there, I mean, they certainly are.
The very worst was AT&T. I would guess that they probably had 100 workers digging on that road at one time. aside from people milling around in your yard and eating food and leaving their trash, now they did try to pick up some of it. I'm not gonna say that they didn't give it an effort, but stuff happens. I was just wondering, is there any kind of plans for somebody to come back and fix the damage?
Well, we certainly try to follow up with those independent contractors to make sure and hold them accountable. I know Aaron has spent a substantial amount of time on the phone getting those things done, and so has our superintendent in the back, Bert Robertson. But would you like to address her issue?
Yeah, if your property address is on the sign-in sheet, is it on there?
It is.
And your contact information, we will get in contact with you tomorrow, if that's okay, and address your specific concerns and what remedies we may have.
Great, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Mhm.
Like I said, I appreciate everything you've done and
Well, we
Uh,
tried to there was a ordinance that we passed a couple of, years ago, maybe it's been a year ago. I can't remember. Time flies so fast, but, that said, basically these contractors have to notify the city if they're digging in the right of way. Because for so long, I mean, you'd have residents that would call the city and say, they've made a mess of my yard and didn't do anything. And we're like, who is it? We don't even know who to call
right,
to make them accountable. So, and even now, sometimes they don't call. Sometimes we have to kind of do some research to figure out who was out there digging. But rest assured, when someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, there is no amount of time that will pass that we will not stop to try to rectify the situation. We do try to do the best that we can by the residents. And I certainly have made, lots and lots of calls, and so has the staff, to try to make sure that, people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And, I always tell residents to try to document as much as you can, take pictures, all of that,
I
so
did.
that
I ended
we,
up with my driveway cracked, so,
yeah.
but they're coming back to fix that because I caught them the day that they did it.
Yeah.
There's been some fracking, so we've got not only hills of mud, I've also got potholes all in my yard now. The builder that we used to build it, my husband is, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My husband's, has a muscular dystrophy. So my house is as flat as it can be, okay? So we had to have, a contractor come in, or a yard guy to come in and make it as flat as we could and fix it so that he could get in and out easily. So now, because the water situation has changed, we're having pools of water at my front door. It's just been a mess. It's just been a mess. So, like I said, AT&T was the very worst. They were the last ones that I think I remember seeing. They were putting in boxes, and those men dug till you couldn't even see their heads. That's how deep they were, those holes. So they probably did as good as they could, but still I'm left with the mess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll try to definitely do what we can to rectify that so that you're not having to be out there or spend any money to put the property back in the same position it was before they got there.
I appreciate
That's what
it.
they're required to do.
Excuse.
That's what they are required to do, is to put it back like it was.
Okay, well, like I
Okay.
said, the Generation 3 people they were spot on. They did the best job that I think they could do. There's a lot of rock in the ground at Rockwood.
It's called Rockwood.
Well,
I'm
now,
sure.
and I got a letter this week that they're coming back to do more blasting because of the new subdivision they're putting in on Lacey Farms.
Mhm.
So it's not finished yet.
Mm.
Anyway, my time's up, but
Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate you listening.
Thank you for being here. Sorry you had to wait. And my dear Bernadette Conselman, 508 Pomeroy Street.
Hello, Bernadette Consman, Pomeroy Street.
I am here tonight representing the Appearance and Tree Commission. My purpose tonight is to have the memberships reduced to 4 members effective immediately. We are open for new applications, and upon the new applicants being sworn in, we will revisit the numbers to have them increased.
Okay. I know that she had messaged me, I guess your, let's see, that, and then, so you want to reduce the membership to 4,
To 4,
is that right?
right.
And then open for new applications, and upon the new applicants being sworn in, then revisit the number to be increased.
Right.
We get dedicated to them. Okay, all right.
I think that the issue now is there's 7 positions on the board
Yes.
and they only have 4 people. So in order for them to have a quorum, if someone doesn't show up, it
Yeah.
really, it's difficult.
And one
to-
is
to
probably
function.
moving,
Right,
so
right,
if we can get it, down to 4, then a quorum would be 2.
right.
So we would be good until we get more members.
Yeah, I think that's what the issue is.
Okay, well, I think a good number, I think we had even talked about this before, being 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, if we need to do it to 4 for right now until we can advertise a 5th position, but I really need to defer to Megan about that. Is that an easy thing to do?
My guess is it would be a code of ordinances change because the membership is set out in the code of ordinances now. So in order to make that change, city council would have to amend the code of ordinances at the April meeting
Okay.
at a minimum.
If we did 5, do you have 3 members that would be there to be a quorum, to have a quorum?
We do, but if one is out that month, vacation, sick, something like that, then that's where we're kind of stuck.
Well, 3 would be the quorum if you have 5 positions.
Right, well, that's
You
what I'm
got
looking
4
for.
people, so if one
Right,
was
we want a
missing,
quorum,
you'd still have a
but
quorum.
one is probably moving. So that she's going to be leaving. So
Yeah.
that's what we're saying.
Yeah, I hear you.
At
Yeah.
4, then.
I
2
forgot about
you.
her. Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
will point out, I believe those vacancies had already been advertised.
They have,
have.
and I have 2, maybe 3 applications that
Okay.
have asked for that board.
Okay,
Really?
that's
Okay.
good to hear.
That's
That's
great.
good to hear. Okay.
So if we could,
Okay.
are you guys okay with just changing it to 5?
Yeah, whatever the council consensus is, we can bring back at the April meeting.
Because it would probably only be like maybe 1 or 2 meetings before you would hopefully get,
Yeah.
and she's got people, then
Okay.
you'd be okay.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Are you guys amenable to 5?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we need to make a motion about that, or can you just?
I think
bring
as
that
long
up
as
at
it's
the next meeting?
consensus, we'll
Yeah.
bring it back to council in April for
Okay.
a formal vote.
Okay,
Okay.
Right.
sounds
While,
great.
while you're looking at it, make sure that HRC is 5 as well. I think we changed that, but I don't remember. It was 7, but it needs to be 5 as well.
We'll look into
I
both of
think
those.
we were originally 5, but we absorbed the tree board, so that's why it grew. So,
Yeah.
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 Okay. Good.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
The, next item on is there anybody else here to speak on anything? Okay, city staff comments. Bob, you got anything? Brian? Aaron? Megan? Okay, Joey?
Yes, already gave Aaron the heads up on this, the, pond on Rogers Road. I'm sure Mr. Boney knows it well. It's still muddy. That's been a concern. I got an email.
Yep.
I think this email is contradictory to what I had kind of thought was going on there. So if you could, can you look into that and
Yeah, absolutely.
and get with the homeowner there and try to pinpoint the source of the,
And we were forwarded that email earlier in the week, and I've already reached out to our engineers and with Burke, and we're doing investigations on it. I think the story to that might be a little more than what was in the email. to
I'm
begin with.
sure.
But, you know, we
Yeah.
definitely gonna look into it and, get back to you on that.
Yeah, because I mean, I look at the runoff when I go up and down that road and, I haven't seen any coming from up Rogers Road. It looks almost like it's coming from the Rockwood area across Rogers, under Rogers Road coming from behind New Covenant Church. That's where I see a lot of muddy water coming from, but, I don't know, but
Yep.
I know there was something that he had done some improvement to his property and had runoff there as well. So if we could just address that, and
We're on it.
thank you, sir.
Ricky?
Yes, I'd like to say, congratulations to all the, award winners at the fire department. We sat through their, ceremony Sunday, and, we have a wonderful staff over there.
Thank you for that. And we will be asking those recipients to be recognized at the April meeting.
Awesome.
But we're in here tonight earlier.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. I don't know if they were
They were
here,
why
but
were they here?
I think the budget thing.
Yeah, my guess is because of the budget amendment for equipment.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, you done, Ricky? Okay. I have a question. You know this thing about the convention center, apparently that they had hired a consultant or whatever about that? Don't know why I feel this way, but I do, that we were kind of etched out of that whole discussion. And we're told, I was personally promised that they would be coming back to us and get some input from Graham, but to my knowledge, they've not gotten any input from Graham whatsoever.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I know that they sent a report. It's been some time ago, months. I couldn't even begin to tell you a month, that we forwarded to city council. And I believe it was their final report, but I'm not exactly sure where they stand in that process.
Well, is there a way that you can get the information for who the consultant is to see if we can speak with him?
Sure.
Okay. I feel like we're just completely left out of that whole process for some reason. I have to rely on Tom Boney to know what's happening.
Mayor, just as an FYI, as far as I understand, it was a Visitors Bureau, I think, study. I am not aware whether they spoke to any.
No, they did. They absolutely did. And then we had actually an appointment to go and it was canceled and then was promised that it would be rescheduled and wasn't. And then we reached out and said, are you sure, is there, like, can we do a Zoom call or can we do a phone call or whatever? And say, oh no, when we're ready for you, we'll contact you. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that phone call.
Well, it may be because their ultimate recommendation was not to have one. That may be, I have no idea offhand. Not to have a large one, that was their final recommendation.
Which I wouldn't disagree with that. My personal opinion and what I would like to see happen is for us to get a hotel that also has a convention center in it. I think we have two major interstates, and I think that we could certainly justify occupancy of an event center like that. If for nothing else but overflow from other places that don't have. I just went to a trade show and I was talking to the person that actually organizes the trade show. And I said, why are you doing this in New Orleans? New Orleans was just listed the #1 murder capital of the country. And the last time we were down there, just coincidentally, when we do that trade show, It's always during Mardi Gras. And I said, I feel so unsafe. I mean, literally, we stay in a really nice hotel room and they lock the lobby. You have to knock on the door to get somebody to come out. And I just want to go someplace where I feel safe. And he said, there is no event venues large enough to hold this trade show other than Boston, Las Vegas, Orlando, or New Orleans. He said, that's it. These are the only places that we have to pick from. And so, when they say, yes, we don't need a convention center like the Corey Convention Center, I don't know that we are at that point, but I do think that those places are booked up almost a year in advance. And I think that smaller venues for less money can be used for a whole myriad of events, from quinceañeras to weddings, to reunions, all different kinds of things. So I would agree with the consultant, but I don't want it to be a dead issue, and I would love to be able to have the opportunity to speak with someone about what Graham property is available to build something like that.
Yeah,
So-
we'll be glad to get that consultant information and relay it to you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it. Bobby?
Yes, Graham doesn't have a logo. Correct?
Sort of. We have the seal, and then in the last probably 3 or 4, maybe longer ago than that, the blue kind of Graham in a square has been maybe unofficially the logo, but we don't have any official branding, if that's what you're referring to. Mhm. Correct.
Could we ask Renee to look into that or the?
Yeah, we can certainly,
Renee's over there going. I'm no artist.
Contact.
yeah, we've got some
got one in
contacts
your
we can reach
family.
out
Got a
to
couple of them.
and get an idea for what that would cost and bring it forward to council.
Because I think, branding is one of those things, when you see it, it's, that's Graham. It's like, right now, we see the big G for Graham High School, which is also the University of Georgia's, banner. But I think, we need to give some thought. Parks and Recs has a great logo.
Mhm.
You see that? Yep, that's Graham Parks and Recs.
It
But-
is a pretty logo.
But that's something I think, be something,
Brian, we know that you secretly draw at night.
have a brand that, put it out on the interstate or whatever on our webpage.
You could even.
Well, I think the branding several years ago got a bad rep because they were looking at spending $60,000 or something on a rebranding of the city. And I think taxpayers don't really want to spend 60,000. Am I remembering that amount right? It was some huge amount, and they didn't want to spend that kind of money on a rebranding. But I mean, I'm not opposed to us doing a rebranding or having a brand, a logo that we offer that's fresh and new and interesting. But I would be averse to us spending
Oh,
some
yeah.
sort of $60,000.
Why not
on-
have a community competition? Hey,
That's what.
submit something as a brand of Graham.
Yeah, I love those ideas.
there's
And I think the community
very-
gets behind those kind of things.
Folks in our
Mhm.
town, in our city.
Maybe we could get somebody to offer up some sort of prize money for the one that gets picked or something. That'd be a lot cheaper than spending
Sure.
$60,000.
Absolutely.
I'm always interested in seeing what, I feel like some of the best talent out there for across the board, whether it's music, entertainment, people that play on the streets or singers or whatever. It's the people that aren't necessarily professional, but they are
Yep.
great at what they do. And there's a lot of hidden talent in our own local community. So I wouldn't be averse to that at all.
Put it out there as a competition.
So Megan's gonna look into that. She gets her list going. She does. And Megan, how great you've been about following up with this council on communicating back to us about things that we've asked. Just done a phenomenal job. Really done great. Thank you.
Just want to thank the city staff again for your awesome negotiation skills for the Gilbreath and Maple thing. Thank you. Thank you for getting that done. Really, really, really appreciate it. And thank Parks and Recs again for working so hard and diligently to assist those business owners and find some workarounds. And Emma, thanks for doing all that legwork and taking all the stuff around to the businesses. I know that's a lot of hard work, a lot of
It is.
coordination, and it's just much appreciated. So that's all I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no doubt that you did.
Thank you so much. It's very appreciated. All right, I have a motion to adjourn.
Make a
Look at,
motion.
what is it? What time is it?
Come on.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?